deal of approval.
Well, the safety car is on the grid, as is the leading car, ready for the cars to come out. But there, I'm afraid, Freddie Bart looking at the wreckage of his car being loaded already onto the Swiss Racing Team's transporter. That's really no way to start your European campaign. It didn't finish race one, and the car is, if not a write-off, certainly not repairable in 15 minutes. And really, you know, unless it's fuel it, polish it, and put new tyres on, there's not an awful lot you can do in 15 minutes, because you do have to fuel it, put new tyres on, and get it out of the pit lane as well. It's not 15 minutes working, it's only 15 minutes before you've got to get out of the pit lane. Well, let's get up with the man who was 9th place, our ex-GP2 newcomer, Javier Villa.
Well, Javi, starting in 21st, finishing 9th, not a bad race for you.
No bad, no. We started in the back and we speak before that we don't know what happened. It was a good race, have a good rim. The safety car for us was fine, because after overtaking some people, that all the group is together, always help. And then the last part of the race, try to overtake the last car, fourth in the independent. That for us is very important when we look in the championship. And we see what's happening in the next one, but for this is fine.
I think we may have some pictures. There was a moment when, if you look at this screen here, you can see going into the barriers. Talk us through.
Yeah, it was a little bit close, no? A little bit to the inside. It was a little bit rubber of the accident before, and but in the end, it was fine, no problems. Coming again to the track, and we're losing here 2 places that take off to the podium. But when you come in from the back, you can waiting nothing. You need to overtake it and go to the front, because in 13 laps, you're waiting a little bit, finish the race.
You've touched on it briefly. If you can do that in race 1, what can you do in race 2?
Well, never know, no? It's a standing start that for the rear wheel traction is much more better at this moment. But if you start in the front, you can predict what's happening in the race. But when you start in the back, you depend on all the group. So obviously pushing, we know that we can go quick, and we see in the end of the race, tell you, sure.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We never know, Louise might get her third chance to chat to Javi Villa today. Spoke to him after morning warm-up, who was the quickest man, clearly showed the potential of the car, and he's done that in the race as well. And his accident-saving skills as well, fully in operational there across the grass. Well, this is Tom Coronel's car. Wheel is back on, and another 5-minute delay before the start of the race. Now, is that just to transport it onto the trailer without having to use a crane? Or are we actually seeing the start, perhaps, of a race? This is the incident with Freddie Bart going off there, Tom on the gravel. OK, he's got it under control here, and then wham, gets kicked up in the air. And Matt, when none of the wheels are on the ground and the car's thrown sideways, you know, you're a passenger in a car crash.
That was just a series of rotten luck, a catalogue of events which all led from one to the other. But yeah, are they getting it going, or is that just to push it onto the truck?
I have a feeling it's still weeping fluids. There's no hands on deck, is there? I think that's just to drag it away.
There's no sense of urgency around there, is there?
No.
Which is a shame.
It is a real shame. And you know, he's got a couple of hundred guests here this weekend. You know, he's like a lot of the drivers here, he works really hard building this sponsorship package to come and race in the World Touring Car package, World Touring Car Championship. And you know, he's brought all his Dutch-based sponsors here, all his friends and family. Pauline and the kids are here, and everybody. Beautiful Easter weekend, but with just rubbish race result as a.
He's had a rotter of a weekend, really, hasn't he?
Yeah. And again, he was doing everything right there. Accident went off to the right-hand side. He gave himself plenty of room. It's quite dirty out there. Dropped out onto the grass, but he'd done everything right. He was still in control, and then it was all taken away from him. Well, there's Christian Poulsen chatting to German journalist Jörg Pugmeister, and Christian's. I think he's quite entertaining, quite enjoying this car this season. He's got a bit more power. No driver really ever worries too much about having a bit more power. And talked to his engineers this morning, and I was saying, seems to me as a pedestrian, as an outsider, that for the rear drive drivers, for BMW drivers, adapting to more power and more torque is going to be less difficult probably for a front wheel drive car, and yeah, it would seem to be the case that the front wheel drive cars are probably more adapting for your driving style? I mean, in your experience, would that be the case, do you think?
Yeah, it's very easy to overdrive them. You know, you've got to try and use the attributes what the car has got for you, and it's power out the corners.
For us to ponder over as well. Well, we're just about ready for the repair time to commence. 3 minutes. There's the board. 3 minutes until the end of parc fermé conditions. Parc fermé, for those of you that aren't aware, is where you're not allowed to touch the car in any way, shape or form. But hang on a minute, all those guys are all over that orange and black car. Well, that's fine. If you are damaged in race one, almost inevitably you'll immediately start work on the car. You take the car out of parc fermé, you surrender your grid position, and you drop to the back of the grid as a result. But when you've had damage on the car, often it's more important to get the car fixed than to start, you know, in the top 10 with a damaged car. Well, we heard from Tom Coronel. There's his car in the Royal Motorsport Garage. His team boss, Roberto Ravaglia.
Roberto Ravaglia, the team were hopeful that something could happen and you could be in race two, but it's not to be.
Yeah, we were quite lucky. We started the qualifier already yesterday with some problem. We had the bad luck, and okay, now today in the race, Tom started very well because his jump from P11 to P7. Unfortunately, we had this crash, and I mean, we are not able to start up for the second race. The car is quite damaged, and we are looking for Monza now.
What is the damage?
Well, we damaged the body shell in the front, and this takes a really long time to repair. I mean, maybe 3 hours, and we don't have a time.
So we look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
And of course, for Royal, they will be on home turf in Monza, and they have a test plan for Monza as well. But before that, it's got to go onto the jig, straighten the chassis, cut the damage off and put a new chassis leg on and get the thing square and pointing in the right direction. It's got 4 wheels on it now, but it's probably not going to be easy to get onto the truck, actually. I imagine it's not exactly going to go in a straight line. So, yeah, really tough time for Tom Coronel and for Royal. It is their only car this season, but it does mean that they can now focus on Monza, get some more work, get some testing under their belt, and hopefully come out stronger again. He showed in Brazil, car with him, good combination. The team are entirely focused on him, and he's really reveling in that for the first time, having the entire team around him in this championship instead of being one of a number of guys.
Yeah, I mean, we all look at it and go, well, you can bang a wheel on there and off you go, but literally 1 millimetre or 1 degree of, you know, can make a massive difference to these cars, literally night and day difference. So, you know, and after a hit like that, and obviously the front chassis leg is bent from the angle it's been hit. Well done, Huffy.
You can see
Junior and senior.
Sister Francesca and his girlfriend Jazzy there in the back of the garage as well, keeping out of the sunshine. Very unlike them. Normally they'd be out there sitting in the sun, topping up the tan. But obviously we're looking forward to a good hot European summer. Chevrolet with a very comfortable manufacturer's lead at the moment as the repair time starts. And the BMW customer teams, their closest rivals. So for Seat drivers, really, Matt, that engine, even though it's not 100% necessarily reliable or tested yet, you know, they're championing at the bit. It can't come soon enough because they are heavier and less powerful than their most dangerous rivals. So, you know, something's got to change for them.
Yeah, it's every weekend they're just going to be wanting to get their hands on the new engine, more horsepower, which is what they're going to need going into the next weekend or the next race at Monza. So I'm sure, I don't know how many engines they'll be able to produce. So in the Seat camp, where there's 6 odd cars, who's going to be, obviously Tarquini, the 2 Luke Oil cars are going to be high up in the pecking order, but it's who gets them first. And
I gather Gabriele and Tiago Montero are the most likely to get them first. That they are very probably top of the pecking list, and in terms of their driver potential, that's probably maximising your options. Just having a little look down there in the engine bay. This is Norbert Michaelis in the first corner. Little touch from Tom Coronel. They seem to have knocked a bit of the bumper awry, but the guys have spent on their second hit as well there. Spent quite a lot of time on that left rear corner. What you don't want is for, you know, bits of stray strapping or something like that to be causing you problems, and what you don't want is for bits flapping around to be causing you to be called into the pit lane by the stewards. So they're just having an extra look at that. And actually, I mean, you as a not exactly a bystander, but an interested rival in a different championship, taking a look at some of the turbo installations under the bonnets here. I mean, it's all about keeping the under bonnet pressure balanced, trying to make sure it doesn't disturb your aero, cause too much drag, and deal with the temperatures as well. So there's all sorts of different issues. You can't just bolt a turbo onto the engine and go, right, let's go racing.
Oh gosh, no. I mean, I had a look under a few of them and didn't manage to have a look under a Chevy, unfortunately, this weekend. But yeah, the installation of the BMW and everything is very compact in there. You know, they seem to have some room to work around, unlike in the British series with the 2-litre unit. You know, there's a lot going on in there, a lot to fit under the bonnet.
Well, having the engine longitudinal on the BMW does make a big difference, doesn't it? Because there's space down the side, because the length of the engine is forwards to backwards, not across the engine bay above the transmission, which is, you know, that's going to be the problem with the front-wheel drive cars. It is with Chevrolet, will be with the Seats as well. Well, let's get down to the man who should be starting race 2 on pole, Freddie Bart.
Freddie Bart, devastating for you there. We didn't see the pictures too clearly. What happened?
Actually, I can't tell you everything because I can't remind what happened. I just remember that I spun on something, and after a big bang, and then I came back to the pit, and that's about where we are.
Did you know then that you wouldn't be able to take part in race 2?
Sorry?
Did you know you wouldn't be able to take part in race 2 straight away?
No, I mean, the first time I was in the car and I thought, okay, let's bring the car somewhere where they can repair it fast, where they can get it off fast. And then I went out of the car, just turned around, and I knew, okay, this is going to be over for that car for every race, I guess.
So you didn't know who was around you, what was happening?
No, I know that I was trying to chase up to Michelitz, or to close up to Michelitz, and then I spun. I don't know why I spun, and I think Tom also spun, but I don't know exactly what happened, and after it was just a big bang.
Thank you.
Well, Matt, while we were listening to him chatting, that last shot looking towards the accident shows just how much air Tom Coronel got. I mean, from onboard it looked like a big bump. From outside, you know, he was feet off the ground.
Yeah, he was coming into land there, wasn't he?
Yeah, not many.
Looks like Freddie Bart, he just got wide and got the dirt on his tyres. And
yeah. Well, you know, drivers always blank that sort of mistake out, don't they? So it's
really?
Yeah, he drifted. Yeah, apparently drifted out. I mean, he was on the curbs, but in fact his left rear wheel was over the curb and into the dirt, and that drags the car out sideways, and then woof. Then again, you know, passenger mode. You keep your right foot buried as you try to, and in the end, sometimes the angle of the dangle is just too much. Margie Lee's car as well, I'm afraid. End of the road for that one. Again, going to use the chassis jig to straighten that one out for a while. There you can see the exhaust manifold. The BMW 4-cylinder's canted over anyway, so that actually makes the turbo very accessible. It's sort of sitting right there on the side of the engine, or almost, you know, alternator level, isn't it? So it's quite easy for access for them.
That was a rare old hit.
Big old hit, wasn't it? Yeah.
Taniguchi.
Yeah, it was. So yeah, Yuki's door. In Daryl Young's car there, you can see closest to us, that seems to be pretty much intact. And actually from that angle, Yukinori Taniguchi's car looks good to go as well. It's where you see the ugly other side. That's not that pretty. Rear axle going together for Franz Engler's car. Is he going to make the break? Is he going to get on the grid though?
Tarquini started in third, couldn't quite hold it on that first race.
Yeah, it was quite bad, but at the moment we are slower, heavier than Chevrolet. It's very bad to fight with them because they are faster than us. But I mean, it's like this. I try to do my best and to fight with them also on the second race.
But thinking about this second race, you're still in the third spot, but nobody ahead of you.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of accident. I don't know the grid yet, but it's sure that my position on the grid, it will be better than in the first race.
Thank you.
Well, yes, the grid might take a bit of jiggling and pokering, actually, because there's an awful lot of gaps. And I'm not sure whether they're going to leave the gaps, which would certainly make life a lot easier for the marshals, or whether they're going to try and tighten everybody up. So we will wait and see.
I think they should just leave the gap, shouldn't they?
It'll make our life an awful lot easier, wouldn't it? Mind you, then you're going to get Nukia, whose car's okay, and Via, whose car's okay, like 8 rows back from the next car in front of them. So maybe they will close some of them up. That is definitely the rear end of Engsler's car, trying to go back on. So maybe Banani's car, that seemed to be going together as well. They put a front strut on that, so that's good to go. It's an awful lot of work still to do. I mean, that's all in one piece, and it may be adjusted absolutely perfectly, but it's not hanging off the car yet, so still some time to go. Pit lane is open. We've only got about another 5 minutes before the cars really need to be making their exit from it. Back on that car. Well, the grid is starting to fill up for round 4 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship here in Zolder. The Lukoil bonnet goes up on car number 4. That's Alexei Dudicalo. And still lots of work going in the Liqui-Moly Engsler team. Race start is at 45, so pit lane will be shut at 35. 5 minutes and less potentially to go. That's the empty boot. There is the empty underside of Engsler's car as well. Tyres going out onto the grid. Now, those aren't wet tyres in case it rains. Those are the tyres they will race on. There is the damage on the left rear of the Zengo team car of Norbert Mikulis. And the orange and black, Norbert was saying to me today, do you like the colours? I said, yes, thank God. Something that stands out a country mile among everything else. More and more of that, please, teams. They've got a new product, the Dentian Hi-Fi company coming out, and that's the colours that will come in. So it's all about new product coming. That does make his car stand out very easily as well. And for Frans Engsler, this is going to be tantalisingly close, Matt. Look, drive shafts going into the diff. The suspension units are all there. The brakes are all there. You can see the suspension, the brake lines all hanging down from the shell. We are minutes away, but are we going to be close enough? He's gone to get his helmet on. His two sons are watching from the sidelines as they race against time. It's like rally service, replacing an entire rear end and trying to get out of service before your OTL. And at the other end of the drama scale, Ivan Muller's sitting there on the grid, cool, calm, collected, and
he did just drive into his grid girl, so she had to take a few steps back.
That's Ivan for you. Hard competitor.
Obviously didn't like her shoes.
Alain Menu, his shoes going straight to the grid. He's come back down pit road. Definitely there is something going on at the front of his car. There's Rob's race engineer Duncan looking in the window. Not too much drama there. On board with Alain, he is on the limiter, chugging down pit road. Now he is chatting to... What's he talking about, Matt? Like, he's all hands, I mean, very convoluted hand signal conversation. They're having a big talk about something, and my guess would be something at the chicanes he's not entirely happy with. Well, there is an Engsler car out on track, but it's Christian Poulsen, not Frans Engsler. Alexei Dudicalo is leaving the pit lane as well. Pit lane is still open for Engsler, but maybe Alessandro in the truck can tell us exactly what time the pit lane will shut, because it must be getting very, very close to cut-off. In which case, it doesn't mean that he can't start the race. It means he can't start the race from the grid. If the axle is in the car and the engine's running and he's at the end of the pit road, he can start when the race gets underway.
Yeah, the amount of work they've got to do there, mate, it's still going to be very, very tight.
Well, he hasn't even got the helmet and the overalls on, and he doesn't look as happy as he might do. And his lads, well, sharing their father's anguish, I think.
I can't see just at the other end of the pit lane whether Menu's back out yet, or what's happening down there.
Well, looking at Javi Villa, again, he will... there might be quite a degree... Well, here's Alan on board, so he is back out on the circuit. But what it was, not entirely sure. Maybe Louise might get a chance to go down and have a quick chat with his engineer and find out what the issue was with the front of Alan's car. Sure, it was something at the front end, and maybe a little splitter damage or something they're just not happy with, possibly even with just the left front corner. Not entirely sure, but he's back out, as he must be. Let's see if she can find out for us. And I do think, unfortunately, that Frans Engsler could have done with another 20 minutes, possibly another 10, and infuriating, maybe even only another 5 would have done it. Well, On the front row of the grid is Alexei Dudicalo. Thomas is down there with the pit lane camera, so we'll see a shot of that in a moment as Alain Menu comes through. But there is a gap where pole would be. So they're not going to shuffle the cars round. In front of our race one winner Rob Huff will be some prime real estate waiting to be taken with nobody sitting on it. There will be no pole man. It's not Dudicalo, it's Gabriele Tarquini rather, who starts on the outside, the front row of the grid. Rob Huff will start third.
No, they've shuffled it. Tarquini's in pole now. That's the.
Oh, they have
the
shuffled it.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yeah. So Tarquini is on pole. Huff second. Menu third. Muller fourth. Oh dear, Gabriele's going to have a lot of blue in the mirrors, isn't he? And Engsler's axle is starting to go in. France, go and get your helmet on. This could be an absolutely superhuman job. That's not 2 minutes. That's 5 or 10 minutes, surely, of work. But who knows? Freddie Bart has just joined our German colleagues alongside us in the hospitality suite from which we're broadcasting here at Zolder, in fact, which is what it is. Well, we were just here in the beginning of Alain chatting to John Waterman, but he's definitely not happy with something on that car, which is really what you don't want when you're third on the grid.
You know, if Gabriele is obviously sitting there in pole, he's very quick off the line of a standing start, but Huff must be fancying his chances of 2 wins out of 2 today. You know, he's the lead Chevy at the minute, so...
Well, you know, even if he doesn't outstart him, we know the Chevy's got the grip to go around the outside. We saw it with Muller, didn't we, on the run round, fast sweep around the outside down on into the braking area. You know, if Rob can just sit alongside Gabriele out of corner 1, he's got the inside line for turn 2, 3 and 4. You know, he's got every opportunity to make it a double race winning weekend. Still not getting. Come on, Louise, get over to. She is over there. Let's see if she can find out in a minute. Yeah, she's nodding away. Yes. I'm there. See if we can just have a quick word with Alain Menu and or even with John Waterman, his engineer, even off air, and find out what's going on, because it might be really quite germane to what happens to Huff and to Menu, of course, and of course to Ivan Muller as well. Might get a. This. How tantalisingly close is this, Matt? That this is really, really tough on Engsler and his boys.
He's going to have a tough rest of his afternoon. Even if he gets out there, he's going to be on the back of the grid. So now. Well,
now, for him, the only good news is there's only 16 cars. Now, I know a lot of them in Yokohama trophy cars still, but if he gets out, he could still end up scoring trophy points.
It goes back to what you say, Martin. Every point's valuable come the end of the season.
I tell you what, those boys are earning their beers in a big way. Here's the grid then. Tarquini and Huff on row 1. Menu and Muller on row 2. Row 3 of the grid with the other Liqui Engineering BMW, Christian Poulsen ahead of Thiago Montero and Pepe Oriola. Robert Dahlgren starts 8th in the Volvo. Daryl Young up to 9th. Alexei Dudicalo 10th, so we're closing up all the gaps. Then Urs Sonderegger in 11th place on the grid. Nukia and Via start 13th and 14th ahead of Benani and Michaelis, of course, who took his car out of Parc Ferme. Engsler, if he can get the car, will start from the pit lane last. Well, we won't see Coronel, Lee, well, we will see Taniguchi, I think. Yeah, I can see his car on the grid, in fact, but there is a lot of real estate around him where there is no one. So, in fact, although we have moved up the pole man, there are still several big gaps. Maybe they're waiting for cars to come out, but quite a long wait for some of them. Here's Alexei Dudicalo, starts in 10th place. So he gets himself elevated up the grid. Maybe they've closed up the top 10, so we've got 10 cars in the first 10 places, and the rest are sort of spread out just in case cars join in. There is the flag of Daryl Young, rather, Hong Kong flag, originally from Vancouver. Spends a lot of time in he hasn't spent much time at home at all this winter. He's been popping up, you know, every sort of 2 or 3 weeks in a race somewhere or other. Did some Porsche racing out in the Far East. Won at Bathurst in an Audi R8 LMS in the endurance race there. I was chatting to him about that. That was a hell of an experience. When you know what the mountain circuit is like, your first time there. And for him, it was first time in the Audi and first time at Mount Panorama. So that's a pretty entertaining place to go.
Yeah, very intimidating, and you know, the opposition down there shouldn't be underestimated at any time either.
Yeah, he was being reeled in the closing stages by a multiple Bathurst 1000 winner, and he really felt the pressure. I think he was really quite impressed with himself, as a number of people were, that he resisted the pressure, managed to hang on to his lead to the flag. Robert Dahlgren in the Volvo, again now starting inside the top 10. So can be quite entertaining to see how that goes when he's in the mix with the Seats and the BMWs, although possibly not with the Chevys at the front of the field. Again, Volvo working hard on their turbo engine. It's on the dyno, and it might be a race weekend, maybe 2 race weekends away. So be interesting to see what happens with that. And here's the youngest driver in the field. Is he the youngest driver in any FIA World Championship? Surely he's got to be.
There'd be probably motorcycling. There'd be younger drivers.
FIM, not FIA.
Right,
So
yes, good point,
yeah, see, I was trying to narrow my randomness down to a smaller margin of error as I possibly could do. Is he the youngest driver in any FIA World Championship with a roof over his head? Yes, sir. Possibly. Okay, wheels are going on. France is still not convinced and has not got his front wheels are going on, but then, you know, they couldn't they?
Come on, France, get your kits on.
Come on, I tell you, these boys. And you know, this is the sort of the unsung part of the mechanic's job, isn't it? You know, they spend an awful lot of time doing an awful lot of work on the cars that we don't see, and it's almost like when the BMW got wrecked. Augusto Farfus rolled his car at the end of qualifying in Po, and it looked as though it was fit only for the skip, and the guys worked a literal all-nighter right through into morning warm-up, through morning warm-up to race morning itself, and literally only an hour or two before the race got underway, they had finished rebuilding it. He went out, got from the back of the he started in third, got points in race 1, ended up winning race 2, and there was tears from hardened Schnitzer mechanics who you would never see crumble under the severest pressure, and from Farfus himself. So that was the sort of bond of love between them, set for life. I think he asked an awful lot of them, they gave it, and he rewarded them with a very unlikely race win. So there are some great little fairy stories going on all the way down the grid. Christian Poulsen, well, had a pretty good race, didn't he, in race 1 in the other Liqui Moly BMW, and it's all in one piece as well. Mehdi Banani's car, Pro Team working hard as well. And they were putting a front strut on that car, so there was obviously damage that we didn't see in his incident. But for Chevrolet, well, life is good so far.
I'd say Muller's now, he needs to score some solid points in this. He's not interested in finishing behind his teammates. That's not Ivan's style. So
never looks happy when he's on the lower steps as he does when he's on the top step, does he?
And sometimes he doesn't look content being on the top step even.
Well, I suppose I left that open for you, so well stubbed here. Well,
but he's starting, third of the Chevys again, the factory Chevys. So he's not going to want to hang about. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how hard he's going to push the other two in the first couple of laps.
Of course, don't forget that his engineer will be saying to him, something's wrong with Alain's car. They're not happy with the way it's going. There've been he's been in and out, he's been in and out. Ivan will know that Alain wasn't on the grid and came back late. So there's that little seed sown. Okay, Alain's vulnerable. I'm going to push him, and then I'm going to attack Rob. Gabriel, you've be gone. And then, you know, Ivan now, you're right, he must see this as a chance to win a race.
Oh, he's got to get past Tuffy as well.
Yep.
You know, Gabrielli's going to drive a wide Seat in the first lap or so, as long as he can get a good start. But yeah, if he can get onto the back of Huffy, while Huffy's trying to get past Tarquini, that can leave opportunities. So, you know, and he's going to be looking for those definitely early on while his brakes and his tyres and all that are fresh.
Yeah, you find no argument with me there. He's absolutely going to give it everything he's got, and will do until the final race of the season, as he's had to do several years to either not win or indeed to win the championship.
And then one thing you can always guarantee with Muller is he is spectacular.
Oh yes. Rob Huff starting in second place then, our championship leader, and first pole of the European campaign, first win of the European campaign.
You can see those big vents on the bonnet there as they try and get the heat out. Chevy bow tie, but the big vents on the bonnet as they try and get the heat out from under that engine bay. You know, the turbo's running at over 1,000 degrees C, and the manifolds all, you know, the manifolds literally become transparent with the heat. You know, and then getting that away from the rest of it is really paramount for the engineers.
Well, we heard from Gabriele Tarquini earlier on saying it's not easy to fight. He knows now, of course, as we all do, that the Chevrolet is a quicker car than a turbo diesel Seat. Nonetheless, when you start at the front, all bets are off.
So Martin, when is the weight reviewed? Is that after this race?
After every race. It was reviewed after the last race. It's after each weekend, rather. It's reviewed on a rolling basis. Cars on the warm-up lap at Zolder. Round 4 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship for 2011, led by Gabriele Tarquini. Red, white and green, appropriately, of course. You know, that's never occurred to me before. The Italian colours, that's why he's got a green windscreen strip on a red and white car. So sometimes I'm amazed by my own lack of brightness. But then, in which case, why hasn't Alexei Dudicalo got a blue strip? Because the Russian colours are red, white and blue. That would work.
He has, hasn't he?
Fabio, no, it's orange.
No, I don't know.
I know. Fabio Fabiani is at pit exit. So that's one story from Pro Team. Whatever damage was done to his car, they've got. There, Marchi Lee's car is going to move again. Ooh, I'm amazed at that. Look at that. It looks like there was no impact at all on it now. Norbert Mikulis is at pit exit. Are we going to have a fourth BMW joining? Where's Engstler's car? Really want to know, has he left the garage or not? On, tell us, boys. We can't see round the corner into the pit lane from here, as they are now a third of the way round the formation lap. Of course, they will come to the grid for a standing start. Christian Poulsen, our Yokohama Trophy leader, is the best placed Yokohama Trophy driver and best placed BMW driver on the grid. Javi Villa starts quite a few places back, but there are some big gaps. As we've seen already, 3-4 of the BMWs that should start the race on the grid are in the pit lane. 3 at least will start from there.
There's a very high mortality rate for Beamers in the first race, isn't it?
Yeah, they did seem to have the bad luck magnets firmly fixed into all their bumpers, didn't they?
With nothing really malicious going on, it was just all rotten luck.
Yeah, I mean, Villa spun. Okay, it happens, but you know the triggering effect from there was ridiculous, wasn't it? Norbert Mikulis, little contact early in the race, but I think there must have been an engine issue as well. And Engstler's car is on the ground. Go on, Franz, go and get your helmet on now, for goodness sake.
He'll be in there, mate.
Well, there's his chief engineer. Chief engineer there in the doorway, the man who runs the team for him. Safety cars in the background there. The Maserati is waiting to go. That's a good-looking car too, I've got to say. One in the garage under the hotel, wasn't there? That's a fine-looking piece of kit. So here we go then, ready for race 4 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship 2011. Sunny Zolder in Belgium. And coming to the grid, ready for the standing start, race 2 here at Zolder. The man who won race 1 now starts second on the grid. So he earned pole in Q2, and he has got second place on the race 2 grid, as well as pole for race 1. Rob Huff with an excellent opportunity to extend his championship lead now, as the rest of the field, or whoever can make it, now takes up their grid positions. Cars are in position, several in the pit lane ready to join in, but the green flag waves. What of the grid we still have is completed. 5 red lights go on and off, and away they go. Good start from Tarquini, very good start from Alain Menu. He's inside Rob Huff into the first corner. Menu again inside Huff like they were the first time, but he's balked by Tarquini. If Huff can stay on the outside, he'll retake second place from Menu. He will. Contact again, he does. And Muller just makes it into 4th in front of the BMW. Quick starting from Christian Poulsen in that Liqui-Moly Engstler BMW, who jumped Thiago Montero. Then Darrell Young got a good way to go away. Engstler leaves the pit lane. And Javi Villa Car stalled under him on the grid. He will be behind all the pit lane starters. Tarquini leads from the trio of Chevys, and Muller already pushing Menu deep into the chicane. Menu gets out late, and this is what he did to Tarquini. Muller, and Muller's looking, and that's Poulsen in the barriers. Muller is looking to try and pass, and Poulsen's had a big off, and that's his wheel flying back off the catch fencing. Well, he got tagged from behind by somebody. Montero and O'Young were right behind him. From Tarquini looking at Huff, and in the confusion, Muller did not get by Menu, trying to look at three things in one go. It's another dramatic start.
Yeah, Menu got a blinding start, and it was way up in the inside of Huff. But then he sort of got bulked through turn one by Tarquini, and Huff managed to hang it round the outside, hang it on round the outside, and then had the inside for turn two.
Well, there is Frank Engsler, Javi Villa, Yukinori Taniguchi down the inside of Alexi Dudicalo. In fact, that's Fabio Fabiani there. And Engsler has joined, Villa has joined the race as well as Tarquini leads. Dirt being kicked up there by Mikael Nukia on the exit of the final corner as he chased for 8th place with Robert Dahlgren. So Nukia's gone up the order pretty quickly again at the second start. Dahlgren in the Volvo giving as good as he gets. He's on the inside. That car is really starting to come on strongly now. The Polestar team working hard here, and in Scandinavia, of course, James Thompson is racing the car in Scandinavia and doing development work with them. Tarquini, well, Huff, I don't think he's biding any time at all. He really can't afford to with his teammates sitting behind him, but Tarquini's got the hammer down, and Muller again. Menu really defensive there into the chicane, isn't he? He knows he's vulnerable. Is it a braking issue?
No, I think it's just the turn before he was looking at Huff, and then that exposes him to Muller, and then Muller's on the attack. So Menu's in a real awkward situation because they can't get heavy with each other being teammates. But he obviously, Tarquini's holding Huff up, and so Menu gets a run on him, drops Muller, and then suddenly Muller's into the back of him. So it's... Well,
it's a story here of how two different turbo fuel combinations work. Both the Seat and the Chevy have got turbochargers, both with great gobs of torque, but the diesel delivers it at a lower rev range perhaps than the petrol engine. Just slight advantage still off the corners with the early pickup, but the outright power advantage we're pretty sure with the Chevrolet, and certainly Gabrielli is absolutely certain with the Chevrolet. But as you said before the race, Matt, that Seat will be twice as wide as it is naturally, and Huff's looking down the inside into turn one. Now he has to go around the outside. Gabrielli with dirt and sand on the tyres, turns in early, drifts out wide, and Huff's got enough grip to turn inside him, but that puts him on the outside for turn two. So Gabrielli again really defending, cannily using the road to his advantage, denying Huff the opportunity.
Huff's got to watch leaving it out wide because Menu will be straight down his inside. But going back, the diesel Seat does have an incredible amount of torque, and much more torque than the Chevy, but the Chevy has more horsepower. So these are the two. Now Huffy's got dirt on his tyres there, so he's got to be ever so careful in the braking area here.
Yeah, because Menu is pushing. Alain wants a win like he had in Brazil.
This is great. If we could just tie up Tarquini at the front and leave him there and let those other three scrap it out.
Okay, so you see, new rule. Right, we'll put a Seat at the front every race because it's slow, and that's where they'll go. Christian Poulsen's car will not be moved. It's safe enough off the racing line. So race continues, no need for a safety car. Tarquini, Huff, Menu, Muller. That's how quick they come past. Montero O'Young in 6th position. Top Yokohama Trophy driver ahead of Pepe Oriola and Mikael Nukia, who's just got in front of Robert Dahlgren for 8th place. Dahlgren 9th, Taniguchi in 10th place. So it could be that we get both of the brand new Bamboo Engineering cruises, which they got at the beginning of the week. They could both be in the points at the end of this race. Long way to go, lap 3 of 13.
This is definitely not going to stay in this order for much longer.
Well, you know, 10 laps on from now, who's going to have the better tyre, Tarquini or Huff, if they stay as they are?
Yeah, you'd have to say it's going to fall in favour of the Chevys. So, but Zay, Huff's got to be careful because he's got two very, very hungry teammates behind him. I'd love to be able to listen to the Chevrolet radio traffic at the minute, seeing what's going on.
I think right at the moment, there'll be nothing between Huff and his engineer. Nothing. He's just going to let him get on with the race. But for Menu, I really want to know what he and John Waterman were talking about. What what was concerning them about the car, because at the moment it looks actually better, more aggressive perhaps than it was in race 1. Muller's having a little shifty. And behind the two yellow and yellow and black and yellow and orange cars, that's Montero 5th and Darrell Young in 6th position. And of course we talked about this, in qualifying, in morning warm-up. Big concertina behind, but there might have been a lot of paint swapping there between the Chevrolets. But to talk about a Young again, we talked about that Bamboo Engineering cruise, and the contract between RML and Bamboo Engineering is that the car will be exactly identical. They'll have every bit that the blue cars have got available to the yellow cars, plus setup help. So there's no reason at all why Darrell Young can't get the car to go as quickly as the 3 blue ones in front, and at the moment he damn well is doing.
Well, if he another couple of laps, if he can get past Montero, then he's going to be getting into the back of Muller.
Yeah.
Now that's going to open a whole new can of, it's going to be very interesting, the politics that go on there, because he's got no bones to, but he just wants to race results and race wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're hearing from Louise in the pit lane that no major dramas for Alain Menu. He did have new brake pads before the start of the race, and maybe just a check on that, but either that or John Waterman's keeping his cards close to his chest. But again, the car looks absolutely fine for Alain Menu, so we'll just take that is the way it is. So thank you to Louise for that. From the pit lane, Gabriele Tarquini is our race leader. From Huff, Menu, Muller, Montero, Young, and then a 1 second gap back to Oriola, and of course that was the touch from Montero into Poulsen. Well, for Poulsen that'll be happening again in a couple of nightmares in the next week. It was, just we talked about that before, didn't we? Come over that brow, car's very floaty and tippy-toey, tiniest touch in that situation, intentional or otherwise, and I'm sure that wasn't a punt. Tiniest touch there, enough to send the car offline and out of control.
The smallest mistake from either one of these front 3-4 cars, and they're going to be dropping 3 places.
I tell you what, Gabriele makes a tiny error, we might lose all 3 Chevrolets. Oh, I mean, it's very unlikely, but there's the danger. Huffy's looking, not quite. Car 11 and 18, that was the incident we just saw, and I'm afraid Thiago may end up with a penalty because he was the man behind, and whether it was intentional or not, and I don't even for a moment suggest it was or believe it was, if you cause an accident, and particularly one that wrecks another driver's race, you may well be held accountable for it. The stewards may think, well, you wrecked his race, I'm afraid you've also wrecked your own. You may end up seeing Thiago with a drive-through, and again, Huff looks, but hasn't got enough of a run on Gabriele, who's doing a really standout job out front, isn't he?
He's using all the road and some at the moment.
We've also lost Yukinori Taniguchi's car. He is at the side of the track at corner 5 at the chicane, apparently, on the left-hand side. So let's have a look on the run-down chicane. This is turn 4, coming round back behind the paddock. So it looks as though one of the Bamboo Engineering cars has vanished of Taniguchi. Yes, he's now dropped out of 13th place. As again, the leaders squirrel down under braking. Still no change. Top 6, 7, 8, 9 positions as they were. And Tarquini hanging on in front. Matt Neal again as they get onto the brakes here at the Villeneuve chicane. Rob Huff locking up behind Tarquini. Can Gabriele win this?
Just shows you the pace at the front and how far off they are. Javi Villa back in 13th place is just set the fastest front sector of the whole race.
Mistake by Muller. Montero will close, but no chance of an overlap there. Down into the hairpin. Not quite, yeah. I mean, Villa is absolutely flying, but he was way back, wasn't he? He's only up to 13th place. He started so far behind even the pit lane starters. He was way behind because the car just died on the grid under him. And again, possibly a recurrence of the problem he had,
Now, you with the Seat, with its diesel engine, its high torque, it's going to be harder on. Muller should be able to hold on to that. He should be able to hold on to that. But with the Seat diesel, it's carrying more weight. It's going to be harder on its tyres, harder on its brakes. So this, is just getting wide coming through there.
Well, that's what set up the drama, and it looks as though he's lost more ground after this. So he's had to defend against Thiago somewhere. So and that's broken the chain, hasn't it?
Well, I think Muller is going to catch up easy. He knows as long as he.
and he's off again. Thiago's gone by.
He must have a puncture. He must have something.
No, it's not a puncture, but it is something wrong. Left front corner. Is it? Here comes Huff. Down the inside of Tarquini, not this time either. And, you know, you get alongside into chicane, you're both out of the race. That is an absolute guaranteed race record. There's nowhere to go if you make contact there. Huff's got to make it clean, and he's got to make it count, because he won't get a second chance. If he miscues, Menu will be straight by him.
But this also takes the pressure off for Huffy, because if he gets a bag full of points here, Muller's not going to score, and that's a big handful in your pocket.
Yeah, car one out and back at turn 4. We saw that, but will Muller come round again? He was in 4th. There is still a 3 Chevys in the top 5, because Young is now up to 5th place behind 4th place Montero. There they are. Daryl Young 5th position, Oriola and Nukia in the
I'll tell you what, Daryl
Taniguchi's got going again.
Daryl Young's going to be smelling a podium now.
Taniguchi's just come past us. He's 17th and last. Daryl, yeah, I mean, oh, and a mistake, really showing the pressure there. Thiago Montero from Daryl Young in that Chevy Cruze. Different colour, same car. Muller, is he coming into the pits? Yes, he's coming down pit road. Now, we'll probably see that in just a moment. Looking back again, this is Huffy, bump, touching Tarquini under braking. And again into the final corner, the Jackie X chicane. And Ivan Muller is in the pit lane, and that is game over, because he's out of the points, and whatever they could do, not going to make any difference. Well, now, even more, perhaps, will Huff want to get by and take even more points away from his teammates. And there's the mistake from Tarquini, and there's Huff with the run. That's what happened with Muller in the first race. Tarquini's got him on the grass, but he's still got the grip to sit there, and he's got the overlap, and there's contact again. And Huff's got broken suspension, or has he? He avoids the tyre stacks. He comes on still in control of the car, and at racing speed, it looks like, yes, he's escaped. Tarquini second, Muller third. On board with Tarquini doesn't show us a great deal of much. I think they have got away with that, and to my mind, Harper's got trouble, and Tarquini takes the lead, and broken left track rod or something, tie rods, he's lost steering.
That was unfair.
Well, I was about to say, if Huff stayed in the lead, as a steward, I would not have made him give the lead back, because that was a racing incident, and Tarquini had him off on the grass, and Huff basically avoided having a monumental shunt. Now, Huffy is going slower.
Huffy was playing the game there. He was driving fair. He got crowded out there. So that was Gabrielli fighting tooth and nail for the lead.
Absolutely. Well, there you know, you said in race 1, when you're alongside Gabrielli, he's not going to have you off.
Well,
that was in race 1.
Yeah,
there you go. So now, can Menu win race 2 as in Brazil? See, now this is, we talked about it, didn't we, how Alan's now in a position where he sees himself definitely as a championship contender. Look again, that was the touch just onto the grass, tiniest little run onto the grass, but all contact there between the two of them. But again, it's 50-50 that the cars are weaving around. I mean, there was no intention there by either driver to hit each other. There, Gabrielli just crowds him, one wheel on the grass, and from there on, they're both fighting for control under braking.
The fight's not over for Tarquini yet.
No. And not for Huff either. You know, he's still going round. He must get points if he can. It's obviously not badly damaged, but it's damaged.
I think his front wheels are towing out massively by the looks.
Yeah, very probably. And he's not going to have much worth giving back to Yokohama in terms of tyre. He's gone out the top 4 now. He's 5th, 6th have gone. He's out the top half dozen. Is he still moving? Yes, there he is. And here comes the Polestar Volvo. Well, now, if he gets forced out of the top 10, that is as bad as having to park it for Ivan Muller. And this hands the opportunity to lead the championship. Does it to Alain Menu? I can't do the counting, but if he finishes second even without drama behind Tarquini, never mind if he wins it, and he's looking like he is trying to win this. Huff was off there at the final corner. He's still going now, has not come into the pits. And Ivan, well, walks away. He could have done that 2 or 3 laps ago. I don't think the car was ever really likely to come back out of the pit lane. Huff 7th at the line, still in the points.
The only consolation for Muller with his championship is that, you know, and not without being horrible, is that Huff isn't going to score. So
no, absolutely right. And for Ivan, that's absolutely the only slight glimmer of hope. You know, what he really needs now is for Gabrielli to win in front of Alain, so that Alain doesn't get too much of a march on him. But I'm not sure that's the way it's going to go.
Now look at this.
Ivan's daughter with him there in the garage, sister Kathy. But definitely Alain Menu wants to win this race. Down through the Villeneuve chicane, Tarquini leads, Seat, Menu second, Chevrolet, Montero third, Seat, Oyoung fourth, Chevrolet, Oriola fifth, and Nukia sixth. Oh! And that's Daryl, no, that's Taniguchi. That's the other Bamboo car, because Oyoung is still there. Yuki Taniguchi was off earlier, rejoined, and it looked perhaps as though something has just sheared on the car, or he's lost it over the brow. Oh my word. So we've got Seat, Chevy, Seat, Chevy, Seat, Seat. And Yuki just ran out of road there. Right in front of the leaders as it transpires.
Well, he's got away, so we don't need a safety car.
No.
Now what we see is Tarquini's backing Menu into Montero to get him busy, because he knows on outright pace.
Now, is that Javi Veer or Fabio Fabiani? Or Mehdi Banani? All three of their cars required treatment.
Huff's still hanging on in 6th place, so...
Oh, in fact, he's picked up a place from Robert Dahlgren. Oh, and who's that still? That's Marchi Lee. Okay, well, the car looked good, but clearly wasn't quite as healthy as it might have been. But we're going to have a top 10 left at the end of this.
Daryl Young can really smell the podium now.
Yeah, can't he?
Bam.
And you know, and that's great news for Menu as well, isn't it? Because as long as Daryl is giving Montero a tough time, it makes it harder for Thiago to really press Menu. And here comes Menu again attacking. He knows that time is running out, and maybe a tyre advantage might be coming his way. Got to force Tarquini into the chicane as hard as he can. Really pressure the Italian into a mistake.
Gabrielli's driving a very tight line now. I mean, Menu knows that it's getting the power down out of those chicanes is the Seat weak point, so he almost has to work the rest of the lap to set it up for that 1 point.
Yeah. But of course, what he's also seen is Gabrielli having Rob off onto the grass when he tried to run between the chicane and Villeneuve. So this is Norbert Michaelis with Alexei Dudicalo. Alexei's car's flapping some bit of rear spoiler, yeah. Yikes! Whoa! Well, they raced together. Along with Freddie Bart, in fact, in the Seat Leon Euro Cup over a couple of seasons, and now all three of them in the World Touring Car Championship. So that Seat Leon Euro Cup has really produced a lot of World Touring Car drivers. Pretty impressive alumni coming out of there. Tarquini leads, Menu, Montero, Young. That's it. Front four all together. I tell you what, first race weekend with the car and no testing. How cock-a-hoop would Richard and Daryl and all the rest of the Bamboo Engineering boys be if they could put it on the outright race podium? Never mind that he's the top Yokohama Trophy driver. If they can get on the big podium first weekend with the car, boy oh boy.
Jokes apart, Martin, if he can finish 4th in his first race weekend, that is a massive achievement for Bamboo, and you know, the podium would just be a bonus.
It's absolutely brand new car. They've never run it before. They've never tested it before. They haven't shaken it down. It is a voyage of discovery. And now, look at this. Huffy attacking Nukia for 5th. Whatever has been damaged on his car, he's dealing with it and now coming back up the order. Michael Rob Huff Schumacher driving around the problem. Whatever it is, he's giving it, again, like we talked earlier, every single point. And Menu still attacking.
Well, the times of those front three are well off now. You know, so it's closing up, and they're actually going back to the back end of the top 6. So they're coming back to the cars behind them.
Yeah, 142.2 for Tarquini. Rob Huff behind Nukia, 141.6. With whatever damage he's got on the car that dropped him from 2nd down to 8th it was. He's still lapping quicker than Tarquini, the leader, with a damaged car. Now we're seeing what Huffy's made of. A Menu again chasing. Last lap. Can Gabriele Tarquini really hold on to this? Oh, and Huff is close to a look inside Nukia, but he wants points. He doesn't want to wreck the car in the last lap. Well, Tarquini, even if he takes the checkered flag first, it might not be done and dusted then. There will be a look at it in the steward's room. To my mind, he might end up with a penalty for easing Rob onto the grass. It was very, very marginal, but still.
You could say Tarquini was robust with Huffy to start with, but then did Rob turn into him in the last part of it? So
I don't think he did in the last part of it, but it's whether or not they'll allow racing. And
I think Menu's missed his opportunity here.
I think he may have, and do you know what? If he can't force the mistake out of Gabriele, he's not now in a position to put himself in the danger zone by being alongside on the last lap, because therein definitely lies the opportunity to not finish. And with Ivan in the pit lane and with Rob dropping down, whatever else, Alain wants big points. So second is a lot better than putting it in the wall.
Yeah, they'll have John Waterman on the radio to him now. Just get it to the flag, get it to the flag. You've got to finish.
And I don't think he even needed telling. Now there's a very slow car in front. I think it's Fabio Fabiani. And Tarquini will probably catch him in the chicane, but not enough to delay him, not enough to give Alain Menu a chance, surely. It's Gabriele Tarquini's race to win. He drifts onto the grass and he takes the checkered flag. He wins race 4. What a fight from Gabriele Tarquini. There is Giancarlo, his race engineer. Alain Menu in second, Jago Montero third, Daryl Young in fourth, Rob Huff in sixth position behind Mikael Nukia. Well, I didn't start talking about the few drivers that have ever taken double race wins in the World Touring Car Championship beforehand, because I didn't want to... Oh, look at Gabriele's floor chattering away there under the car. I didn't want to jinx Rob Huff, but even thinking it apparently might have been enough. No fairy tale double race win for Rob Huff, but Giancarlo, look at that. The floor under Gabriele's car as he crossed it. That's the perfect Formula One car, isn't it? Falls apart as you go past the checkered flag. The floor chattering away underneath. He probably thinks he's driving through somebody else's gravel, because I'm sure he can hear it rattling away, machine gunning under the car. If that had happened halfway through the race, that might just have been enough to swing the balance in favour of this man. But Menu, second place, good points, right up to the championship lead. And I don't know, now that Rob's in sixth, whether that'll be enough to keep Rob in the championship lead or not. It's going to be very close, and suddenly Muller is the man with the pressure on him going to Monza as far as Chevrolet are concerned.
Well, Muller always deals with the pressure well, but I mean, it's great to see Menu back on form.
Yeah.
And, you know, you could see he's got a bit of fire in his belly and a twinkle in his eye, and he needs that to take the fight to the other two. But, I mean, you wouldn't want to put money on any one of them, or any one of those three. But fantastic win for Tarquini. Could this be the last win for the diesel Seat?
Well, no, actually, that's a very valid point. Yeah, I mean, there's every opportunity for, you know, the new engine to produce a winning car immediately, but yeah, it might well be the last diesel engine win. See, now that was rear wheel to rear wheel as the cars were sideways under braking. Have a look again.
Front wheel to front wheel, I think.
Front wheel.
Yeah.
But again, it's almost like in Marrakesh, where the cars are converging because they're actually just, you know, drivers are fighting for control. And you know yourself, you know, with these rear drive cars, front drive cars particularly, you know, the rear end tends to sort of have an effect steering the car as much as the front end does sometimes.
Huffy did well to hang on to that, to be fair to him.
And, you know, threaded the needle between those tyre stacks as well, because that could have really ripped the car apart if he'd not been able to avoid those. Well, unfortunately for Christian Poulsen, good race 1 did not replicate itself in race 2. His car comprehensively wrecked on the first lap. But Huff leads by 1, count them, 1 point from Alain Menu. And that's exactly, I'm sure John Waterman had done the maths and said, if you stay where you are, you'll be a point off the lead. If you get alongside Gabriele, you'll be 25 points behind.
Not that Gabrielli's got a reputation.
Not that Gabrielli's got a reputation, but that's the danger. You know, that's the balance. Do you go for the extra points for the win and risk everything, or do you go away from here 1 point off the championship lead?
I think Waterman would realise Gabrielli's got nothing to lose. He thinks the championship's not going to be his this year, you know, with all everything going on, the strength of Chevy. So he's got nothing to lose. He just wants the win.
I agree absolutely entirely, and that's very much the way I'm sure that they'll have been looking at it. And for Gabrielli, yeah, a win. Look at that. That's enough. That's as good as a win for him. He won in Brazil, and he's taken more points than his Chevrolet teammates here. He's closed the gap on the championship leader to a single point. A little French conversation between them. That's their common language. Gabrielli speaks extremely good French. And Alain was just saying, yeah, I was never going to come past you after the thing with Rob there. I'm sure that's what that conversation was about, you know. Okay, you know. Look at that. Darrell O'Young and the Bamboo Engineering boys. I think we know where we'll find them tonight. They'll be outside the Irish Bar. There's Richard in the background who runs the team.
Best overall finish, isn't it? Best overall finish in history for that team.
And really, really happy. First weekend with a brand new project, totally different car to drive, utterly, utterly different. The fact that it's got the same badge on the front is the only similarity. Great job by Darrell O'Young. Bearing in mind, he qualified outside the Fast 10, so he was always working his way up the order. Now he needs to find out where to go. And Thiago, yeah, good points for him too. It's life in the old dog yet, and I don't just mean Gabrielli. The diesel, you know, if you fight hard enough, even with possibly one hand slightly hampered behind your back, you can produce a big result. Well, somewhere down there is Louise Beckett and Gabriele Tarquini. Let's catch up with him.
Gabriele Tarquini, that looked like hard work.
Yeah, very hard work since the beginning. I mean, Chevrolet is much quicker than us, but I took the chance. I was on pole position. I had a really fantastic start. So for me, it was win or nothing. At the end, I was really good. I drove very well with my friend Alain in the back, saved my position, and I'm very happy because it's the maximum I can do.
Well done.
He's listening to you on the slowing down lap, isn't he? He's nicking all your lines.
The script. It's the script we all get given.
But you're absolutely right. You know, he considers the car as not a suitable tool with which to win the championship, and as a result, yeah, if there's a sniff of a win, I tell you what, it's going to take a lot to prise it out of his fingers.
And when that happens, it makes you a danger for anybody going for the championship, because you're a loose cannon on deck with nothing to lose.
Yeah, and for Rob Huff, I don't think he thought Gabrielli would have him off, but it is part of the decisions you make, like, you know, decisions in traffic or whatever. You know, it is all part of the equation. And in the end, Rob ended up with points for 6th position, which is not what he would have wanted. I'm sure he thought he had the car to win, and I'm not entirely sure he was wrong. Definitely had a quicker car than Gabrielli. And barring that little touch on the grass, if he'd somehow had enough room to keep all 4 wheels on the track, I think he would have made the pass cleanly into Villeneuve, and we would have had only the 3rd man in World Touring Car history to win 2 races at the same track on the same weekend. And the last one to do so, of course, was Britain's James Thompson for Alfa Romeo in Valencia. Well, Rob Huff is still our championship leader. Tarquini up to 3rd, Muller to 4th. Now that's going to smart even more than the 22-point gap. Montero 5th. Coronel slips from 4th here down to 6th position and has not scored a point, so he's now gone 40 points adrift of our championship leader after a very disappointing weekend. Darrell Young up to 10th position. Big point result for him in this race. 17 drivers have been in the top 10 so far this season. Well, high drama in race 1, between race 1 and race 2, and in the end, Frank Engsler's team got him out onto the track and into the points in the Yokohama Trophy. A superhuman effort. And he wasn't even the last car on the first lap. His teammate, though, Christian Poulsen, had a very dramatic first lap, car ripped to pieces. Rob Huff challenging Gabriele Tarquini all the way. Kanori Taniguchi visited the scenery more than once. And unfortunately for Huff, his challenge with Tarquini ended in contact at Villeneuve. And then there was something awry with the car. that cost him positions. He dropped down the order, finishing in 6th position. So it was all about Tarquini then holding off Alain Menu. Menu was not about to squander the handful of points. And some very happy Italians and Spaniards on the Sun-Red team this evening. Gabrielli takes the win as he wanted to. Well, with his teammate Freddie Bart sitting alongside, talking to our German colleagues, it meant that Gabrielli was elevated to pole position, and when you get handed a chance like that, Matt, you've got to take it with both hands, capitalise, and he did. Thiago third for Seat, Alain Menu the only Chevrolet driver to make both podiums, and Gabriele Tarquini wins the race.
Yeah, it's a shame for Huffy, but it is tight. It is tight round here. You know, it is tough to pass, so it was... Whatever move he got to make, and Gabrielli wasn't going to roll over. He was going to fight every step of the way. So, I mean, it made for nail-biting stuff for a bit, but, you know, at least Huffy got a finish in the top 6, which is more than Ivan did.
That top 5 there are on the podium again. Daryl Young and Michael Nukia joining our top 3 as the Italian anthem for our winner. And the Spanish anthem for our winning manufacturer.
Trophies are presented by Alex.
Okay, we seem to be moving on from that. So, Seat winning the race. And trophy for 3rd place for Thiago Montero. He seemed to be a pretty relaxed boy this weekend, and maybe that's just where they need to be, the Seat boys, you know, not worrying too much about the fact that their car's not the fastest, but just looking for the gaps and seeing what happens for them, and race 2 happened for them pretty well. Alain Menu in 2nd place, as he was in race 1, of course, so too in race 2. And Gabriele Tarquini, well, again, the opportunity to start from pole handed to him by the unfortunate demise of Freddie Bart's car in race 1. And Spider-Man took every opportunity.
It's a good one for the old guard, isn't it? 2 of the older guys in the championship coming up with the results.
Yokohama Trophy presented to Daryl Young, took top points there ahead of Michael Nukia. And Nukia also on the podium as the J10 winner in the older cars. And of course, yes, Tarquini and Montero are in older cars as well, but they're not independents in older cars, and that's what the J10 Trophy is all about. So 3rd in the Yokohama Trophy was Norbert Mikulis, despite what seemed like an engine problem with his car just before the start, made him start from the pit lane. 4th, Alexei Dudicalo, and 5th, Javi Villa, who ended up in 10th place overall after a very dramatic race weekend. So time to get busy with the fizzy for our top 5 drivers. And again, Daryl Young, top Yokohama Trophy driver, and Michael Nukia, the top J10, just off the overall podium. So still, there's more work, a lot more work for Bamboo Engineering. They've got a brand new car which can run at the front of the field. All they've got to do now is to learn how to do it reliably, consistently, and effectively. And for Seat, well, make sure you get a chance to shine. Champagne going left, right and centre, and those Sun-Red t-shirts will dry out pretty quickly actually in the heat here. It's getting on for nearly 30 degrees air temperature. Rob Huff is our championship leader, with Alain Menu now in 2nd position. Gabriele Tarquini still celebrating on the podium like he's won the World Championship. He is now up to 3rd place, 3 points ahead of Ivan Muller, his former teammate at Seat and of course long-term rival. But 2 men who have never won the World Championship are currently 1st and 2nd, Rob Huff and Alain Menu. And both of them easily capable, Matt, and both of them equally deserving, I would have thought, of a chance to win the World Championship. Of course, at the end of the year, only one person can, so even of those 2, somebody's going to come up short.
Yeah, both of them know that, you know, to win a World Championship, you just got to take it race by race. Concentrate on your next, where you are next. Strengths you got to take to that event. You know, with Monza, which is next, drafting is going to be critical. you can make your way through, and even if you have a rough qualifying. So and working as a team in qualifying, they've got to work together and as well as work against each other.
Look at the fastest laps. Javi Veer fastest for BMW, Huff second quickest, Seat of Pepe Oriola third quickest, and it's those laps in the races for each of the different cars that get averaged out and put through the formula that I have to say I don't even profess to really properly understand, over a 3-race spread that decides the balance of weight plus or minus between the various different cars. So we may see changes for Monza, but maybe not dramatic.
Gabriele Tarquini, you just said outside you had nothing to lose. You really weren't giving that up without a fight, were you?
Yeah, I'm really proud about this victory because it was unexpected, and because I took the chance. I had the chance to start on the first position on the grid. I really had a really good start, and after that it was a big fight between me and the Chevrolet from the first lap to the last lap. But I have nothing to risk. I mean, I want this victory, and for me it was the victory or nothing, because I'm not playing for the championship, but I want to win once this year. And I'm really more proud of this victory than last year victory or 2 years ago victory, because it's sure that there is a big gap between Chevrolet and the rest of the paddock.
Just talk us through that moment with Rob Huff.
Yeah, it was a very hot moment. In acceleration after the first chicane, he was much faster than me, took the outside. I leave the space enough for Rob, but unfortunately we touch wheel by wheel, and I think that his suspension broke before the braking.
Thank you.
Again, Gabriele, I think, did believe that he left enough room for Rob, or hoped that he'd left enough room, but Rob, with 2 wheels on the grass, kind of a bit out of control as they both got down into the braking area, and that was the contact as a result.
Alain Menu, 2 second positions this weekend. A good weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's very good. I mean, this year I'm going for the championship, so I want to get points. I had a very good start, but Rob was quite aggressive going around the first and the second corner, so I had to. I gave in basically. We wanted to finish the race, and then we were a bit faster than Gabriele Tarquini, but we know what happened to Rob. Then when I was in second place, I wasn't going to risk anything. I knew Gabriele wanted to win. For me, 18 points was perfect, so I didn't take any risk. Unless he was going to make a mistake, I wasn't going to try anything silly. So 2 second place is very good.
Yeah, just 1 point away from Rob in the championship now.
Yeah, I didn't know. It's early days, so it doesn't matter really where we are, as long as we rack up the points. And it's what we've been doing. So great, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, same old focus, points make prizes, and after he'd seen how robust Gabriele's defence was, there was clearly no chance he was going to put himself in a vulnerable situation. Well, third place went to Thiago Monteiro. He visits the podium here in Zolder.
Thiago Monteiro, first and third for Seat, just what you needed.
Yes, perfect. I mean, we couldn't have dreamt a better result, to be honest. We were not expecting, after the difficulties in Brazil. It was definitely, we were very far away from the Chevys. Here we're able to close that gap. For sure, the track helped us, and we were very competitive here last year, competitive here again. And in the race, we know everything can happen. There was a lot of fights. It was a very exciting race. We need to go for it, and I think the whole team deserved it. It was difficult. It's been difficult times for us at the moment until we have the new engine. So in the meantime, we need to try and get some points. So a big congratulations to everybody, and it's the first podium for my new sponsor Monroe as well. So congratulations to everybody as well. And thank you.
There's been a lot of talk about it. When can we expect you to have that new engine?
Well, it's expected to arrive probably in Monza actually, but just one engine. So we're not sure if we're going to put that engine in Monza or not. Otherwise, we hope to have by Budapest, the 4th race, we should have the new engine. Obviously, not a lot of testing with it, so it's a big surprise. But there is a big gap at the moment, and we hope to close that gap later on.
Thank you.
Well, that's the magic bullet that Seat are hoping for, that suddenly they will be right back where they have been for the last 2 or 3 seasons on the front row of the grid. Well, Rob Huff looking pretty downcast. Ivan Muller likewise. Ivan didn't score at all. Rob, the win that he'd hoped for, ended up with 6th position. But for Gabriele Tarquini and certainly for Alain Menu, it wasn't a bad race 2 at all. Pretty damaging time here at Zolder. And don't forget, you can see the highlights or follow behind the scenes for Eurosport viewers on Tuesday evening. See what went on behind the scenes here at Zolder. For the rest of us, well, lots and lots to ponder. For Seat, the potential of a new engine, maybe even as soon as next time out at Monza, and a track where horsepower rules. Maybe that's the most important race weekend of the year at which to have it. Chevrolet still looks to be the dominant force. There's an awful lot of drivers hoping that they can leave their bad luck here in Belgium, not the least of which will be Tom Coronel. Well, we've got a real championship on our hands, some very entertaining racing, and we hope that you will enjoy watching it with us. But Matt Neal, there's an awful lot of drivers who are not going to have very good memories of Zolder, despite the gorgeous weather.
You know, Chevrolet have been a class act here, but the exciting thing going forward is Javi Veer and Coronel have shown great pace in the BMWs. You know, there's still life left in the Seat. You know, we've got the second string Chevy Cruises now with Bamboo coming online, and they're showing good pace. And you know, there's a lot of things that are going to mix it all up with going to Monza and the races onwards. So nothing's over, and you know, we've got a lot of exciting racing in front of us.
I tell you what, despite the perceived difficulties in passing at Zolder here, which did turn out to be the case, there's not short of drama either. That is it then for rounds 3 and 4 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship. Next time out, we are at Monza in Italy. Another win for Tarquini? Who can tell?